vision without ability to execute is just nonsense. The economy here is vibrant. I think Bangladesh knows exactly what its problems are. There are issues of obviously infrastructure and of investment. It is how you grow this economy so it becomes inclusive.
Richard Quest, the only and one and only Richard Quest we could have here in Dhaka. So welcome, Richard, and you are the quintessential journalist behind the Quest Means Business.
You're very kind, sir.
Yeah, the biggest business show on earth. So you have a very busy schedule, so we decided to come to Dhaka. So what made you think that you should come to Dhaka?
Well, it was the business summit, the Bangladesh Business Summit.
Yeah.
When I was invited to come here, recognizing that I hadn't been to Bangladesh.
Okay.
And the economy here is vibrant.
Right.
A relatively small geographical country, but with a huge population that has a disproportionate impact on things like garments and textile management. So I always think it's best to come and see it for yourself.
Okay.
If in doubt, go and see it for yourself.
Right.
And so I came here and I've been very, very pleased to be at the summit today. What I think I'm also interested in is the way in which all subjects were discussed.
All right.
Nothing was off limits. And I think that really speaks volumes to the strength of what is here.
I was watching one of your shows, and there you said that you should dream, your dream should be bigger than your ambition. So if I ask you to dream about Bangladesh, what would you dream about?
That's a really difficult question. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because I'm not telling you anything that I won't say on my own program, but I hear people talk about the digital Bangladesh, smart Bangladesh, all of these things, but then you have to juxtapose it with a certain physical reality, which is in many cases, poverty, even though it's less than it was.
Yeah.
But if you just drive from the airport to here, it takes you whatever.
Right.
And you just look at the buildings and the roads and the traffic jams. So it's fine to talk about, and I understand the argument, the rising tide lifts all boats. I understand it.
Right.
I also understand it doesn't happen overnight. But I think you have to balance the talk of the great future digital smart economy with the reality that there is basic infrastructure issues that have to also be solved at the same time.
Is that only infrastructure you are worried about?
In what sense?
I mean, you said we need to talk about infrastructure in the sense of investment and everything, but is that the only thing that we should take care of?
Well, I've always found it's very dangerous to visit somebody else's house and then start criticizing the wallpaper as soon as you walk inside. I think Bangladesh knows exactly what its problems are.
All right.
And where it needs to work on them. There are issues. There are issues of obviously infrastructure and of investment. It is how you grow this economy so it becomes inclusive, as opposed to merely. There's lots of countries in the world that are now obsessed by the digital economy.
Right.
But with the digital economy and all of that has to be things like gender equality and rights, LGBT issues have to be put on the agenda, education, proper healthcare, socialized healthcare, all these issues. You cannot become obsessed by this.
Yep.
You cannot believe that the be all and end all of life is that everybody now has a smartphone.
Right.
And I think what I see at time and again, I see it in certain parts of Africa, that people are extolling the virtues of the fact that everyone's connected. Right. Well, that's all fair enough. But if you haven't got food to eat, you haven't got clean water to drink, and you haven't got healthcare to look after you, then frankly, this is a tool, but it's not going to be terribly important.
Yeah. So suppose you're given a check of, say, $100 million and asked you to invest in Bangladesh, what would you do?
Well, the first thing I'd do wouldn't be to tell you. I mean, I think if one was to invest heavily in Bangladesh, you would need to do a variety, a basket that would include some of the more advanced textile production. And I don't mean mass garment.
Right.
RMG is great, but RMG won't see you through whatever. The most advanced technology in textiles at the moment is in China. They have machinery there. I was talking to a manufacturer. Sorry, a retailer.
So fundamentally, we are talking about textile.
Well, no, but no. Hang on.
Yeah.
If I'm going to invest in textiles, it'll be in new technology style textiles.
Okay.
Then you've got IT.
Yep.
And there are some very impressive things about Bangladesh. My phone, for example, has worked throughout. Absolutely. Good signal. If I do a speed test on the uplink megabytes, it'll be good. So the right bits of modern infrastructure are being put in place. A new Terminal 3 at the airport, the Skyway, the Metro. The right bits are being put in place. But it will take generations.
All right. So let's take a little trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
You have been covering a lot of interesting stories. You have interviewed a lot of head of states, lots of big corporate heads. What was your most memorable, intriguing interview or a story you have ever covered?
Well, I think the most memorable ones are the people who've got something to tell you. The Dalai Lama, obviously. Sir Richard Branson is always very good because he's very honest. These are honest. And I don't mean the others are dishonest. But the best interviewee is somebody who lets you at them. Somebody who... So I remember years ago, I interviewed Patrick Swayze. Now, Patrick Swayze was the actor and dancer who did Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
I interviewed Hugh Hefner once before he died.
Hugh Hefner,
of Playboy.
Playboy.
And when I asked him, the questions about what does he think is a beautiful woman, it became clear he'd really thought about it. He'd really given it a lot of thought.
Okay.
And I think the best interviewees are those that have really thought about it. They know what they want to do and why they want to do it.
With a purpose.
Yes. Not just a purpose, but also they have a purpose, a calling, a reason, a raison d'etre.
All right.
All these things, yes.
All right. And you studied law in Leeds University.
Yes.
And that's also my university. So
why law? Well,
why? Yeah, law is okay, but why pursue your law career?
That's easy. I'd done hospital radio, which is what we had in Britain, little stations that just broadcast to hospitals, volunteers. I'd done BBC local radio. I'd done university radio, and when I went to the States, I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where our alma mater had a scholarship, an exchange with, and I'd done RVU, and it was a question of what do I want to get to 40 and regret least, and I knew I could get to 40 and regret not being a lawyer, a barrister I wanted.
Really?
But I really wanted to try to be a journalist. And I remember my late father, Avasholem, saying, the problem with being a journalist, Richard, you'll have the best dinner party stories and the smallest car parked outside. Now, he wasn't quite right on that in total, but I know what he meant. And he insisted I get my legal qualification first. It was wise, it was correct, and I did. I also think law's a really good degree for journalism.
Okay.
Why? Because...
critical thinking?
Absolutely. Completely. But you learn that there's two sides to every argument.
All right.
All right?
So you know how to balance things.
No, too many journalists, I think, often come at it. They must be a crook. They must be lying. And there must be somebody who's got the
right.
Well, you soon learn in law, everybody has a defense. It may not be a very good one. And so let's take the Prime Minister here. So read my notes and it tells me that the government's becoming more authoritarian, that there's a lack of democracy, that rallies are being banned, blah, blah, blah. On it goes with how this government, after 14 years, is too authoritarian. But I will ask the Prime Minister that tomorrow. And I'm sure she's going to give me an entire raft of reasons why they've done what they've done. The Minister did it today. There's always two sides.
True.
But as a journalist, you and I have to be informed that we can challenge both sides.
That's the word, challenge both sides.
Yes, because it's not for me to say it's right or wrong.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. There are some things genocide. That's wrong. You don't. There's not two sides.
It is very obvious.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But to be honest, it's always more nuanced.
Right.
Always more nuanced.
Well, you have interviewed a lot of corporate heads. So, will you tell us something about what makes a good business leader? Why
Sure.
businesses succeed and why they
Sure.
fail?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, a lot of luck. You have to.
Lot
be
of luck.
A lot of luck. You have to be you have to be the CEO at the right time. But I think vision.
Okay.
But vision without ability to execute is just nonsense. So one of the greatest I ever interviewed was a guy called Gordon Bethune. Gordon Bethune was the CEO of Continental Airlines
Okay.
in the US when it was in bankruptcy, dreadful, horrible. He took them from worst to first
Okay.
because he created a vision. And later on, by the way, at United, Oscar Munoz, who took over our dreadful debacle of the man being dragged down the plane, Oscar was about that time. Again, you have to create a vision that is realizable, and you have to get people to go along with it.
Right.
And if you're the CEO, you have to remember that that's it. And I know, then you have technocrat CEOs. They are there because at that moment, the company needs to be run.
Right.
Quite often after a visionary, you get a technocrat because the company just needs to be run. It doesn't need to have the chairs moved around again. It just needs to be run.
All right. So let's look at the world economy, turn to world economy. You know, we thought that we had the COVID, then the Ukraine war, you know, the double whammy. That's what we should say. And now we don't know, there is a lot of tension about China and Taiwan. So how you look at the economy at the end of the year?
This is the most difficult economic times that we've seen. That's not me.
Yeah.
That is Mohammed Al-Arian from Allianz. That is all the top economists I speak to. They all say the same thing. This is the most difficult economic time that we have had. And the reason is the complexity of the issues.
Yeah.
So let's take...
you don't think that the war is going to end anytime soon?
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, you hope not.
I've just bought a season ticket.
Yeah.
I'd like to at least get to Tuesday end of it. No, I think you have to look at it as being...
Yeah.
Let's just go through it. We have still high wage inflation in the US.
Yeah.
We have low unemployment. So we still have a very tight labor market.
Yeah.
Which
is something funny.
Which is keeping inflation up, but we've had 425 basis points of interest rate rises and more to come. Yeah. So how do you square that circle?
Yeah.
How do you... They will increase rates again and again.
And predicted to be 6% or something, hit
the
6%.
terminal rate,
Yeah.
well,
yeah.
We thought the terminal rate might be 5, but I think the terminal rate could well be 6.5%.
Yeah.
But how do you get that much monetary tightening and you don't tip the economy into recession?
Yeah.
So the Fed is looking at the latest numbers, data dependent, and it's saying, hang on a second, after this much tightening, we should be seeing a slower down of inflation. We've seen inflation come off the top. Yes. From 8-9% down to 5-6%. But do you continue pushing it down to 2%? That is the big debate now in economics.
Okay.
Do you, and it'll be the same for the BOE, the ECB, and the Fed, the FOMC. Once you've got inflation down to 4%, do you keep ratcheting up to get it down to 2%, or do you pivot and say that's okay?
At 4%, yeah.
We don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
That is the cake that is being made.
But the rate hike in the Fed rate hike, that is really, you know, having a lot of impacts on the emerging economies.
Completely.
Yeah. So
completely. But
yeah,
absolutely devastating.
Devastating.
It's devastating on those countries that borrowed in dollars.
Yeah.
It's devastating because it creates a sucking effect of investment income that goes to higher yields elsewhere. It's devastating because of the way it disrupts the bond markets and the yields. So absolutely it is totally. But the Fed will say, if they don't manage the US economy to stability and solidity, then the emerging markets will be even worse off.
Okay.
So this is like the medicine, you know, I know it sounds like the medicine's being taken by that patient and this patient's falling dead.
Yeah.
I get it. But the Fed is not there to help the emerging markets.
2024.
Yes.
How do you look at 2024?
Well, we're not even halfway through 23.
Yeah. So
2024 is a year of recovery. If rates carry on as they are, I would see you start seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. I don't
Right.
mean cuts in interest rates.
right. Okay.
That'll happen in 24 maybe.
Right.
But you will start to see a base building at the back end of this year and into next year.
Okay, that's a good news. Just a last question.
Yeah.
How do you think, with time and everything, and the global situation, the mode of business has changed and new things are coming in, like AI has is taking over. So how do you look at the future business, the greatest influence on the future business? What would be the
I think
big
the influence of
changeover?
AI is phenomenal and horrific at the same time.
Right.
We don't know.
Okay.
So we had the fourth industrial revolution
Yeah.
before the pandemic. And the big fear then was about the actual jobs that will be lost will be blue collar into middle collar. So for white collar, for instance, truck drivers with autonomous vehicles,
Mhm.
people doing manual inputting with,
Right.
with AI,
Right.
even ChatGPT that can write for you gets rid of a lot of people. So that's very worrying for many economies.
Yeah.
Because what are these people going to do? We can't reskill fast enough. There aren't the jobs necessary to reskill fast enough. And those jobs that are reskillable, they're also being taken away.
Right.
So I don't want to be pessimistic because it's great opportunities as well. But for policymakers, it's very difficult.
Richard Quest, thank you so much for
Thank
giving
you.
us time.
Oh, you're very kind.
And-
Very kind.
I hope you have a very nice stay in Dhaka.
Thank you. I'm enjoying it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.